You're listening to Change Your POV podcast, episode 16. So a lot of people think that they can't get into business for themselves unless they have a college degree. What would you say to those people?
I don't have a college degree. It's just you don't need a degree or a formal education. I'm going to college. I haven't taken a class in a while, but I'm about 11 classes away from finishing my bachelor's. I found that a lot of these classes, you're just getting the opinion of the instructor or the professor, whose opinion is no more valid than your own.
Welcome to Change Your POV podcast, helping you navigate transitions in your life, like entering and exiting college or the military, changing jobs or careers, and providing you with the coaching and mentorship needed to help you advance in your personal or professional life. Sometimes all you need is to change your point of view. Now, here's your host, Eddie Lazary.
Welcome, everyone, to yet another episode of Change Your POV podcast. I'm your host, Eddie Lazary, and today I'm sitting down with Dallas English. How you doing, Dallas?
Pretty good. How are you, Eddie?
I'm good. I'm doing excellent. Thanks.
Great.
So, talk to our audience here a little bit about yourself, kind of some of your military experience and what you find yourself doing these days.
Sure. So I was in the Air Force for 10 years. I spent some time in Guam, Turkey, the Philippines, and where I am now, Rapid City, South Dakota. And this was my last duty station, and I was medically discharged and right at the 10-year mark. So it was a little tough, and everything was up in the air. So just trying to figure out what I wanted to do in life. And I've always been really interested in business, whether it's creating my own business or being part of a business, just everything that's involved. And I got hired on as the assistant branch manager of a staffing agency. So I've been doing that for the last 3 months and working on my side projects on the side.
Cool. So staffing agency. So are you one of those guys that has the privilege of sifting through hundreds of resumes, or is that what you're doing?
It's a temp agency, essentially.
Okay.
We do recruit people to be hired full time, but the majority of our work is temp agency stuff. So we've got people that come in and they go out to a construction site for a month, or they go. It just really varies. There's all kinds of jobs that we fill.
Now, how many? I'm sure you don't have numbers in front of you, but how many veterans or former military folks come through your office?
Quite a bit. There's actually a lot, and the ones that actually vocalize it, I would say probably a quarter of our core workforce is prior military.
Now, when they come to you, do they come with a already prepared resume that the military helped them with during their transition?
Not usually. A couple of them have. A lot of them are older. They're in their 40s and 50s, and they've been out for 30, 40 years, or not 40 years, but they've been out for quite a while. So I don't think back then they had that whole transition focus, and it was just kind of all right, goodbye, you're out now.
Right. So how important would you say somebody that's looking at transitioning out of the military, pulling their resume together or working with somebody to get something going? Because when I was transitioning out, that wasn't even a topic of conversation. I didn't talk to anybody about it. There may have been services available to me, but I didn't know of them. And I transitioned out, and I was very, for the lack of a better word, very unprepared.
Right. And what year did you get out, Eddie?
I got out in 2005.
Okay. That's actually when I joined. So now they put a huge focus on it now. I think they kind of feel obligated, I guess, with the force reductions, and they're kicking out 20,000 here, 40,000 there. So there's for the Air Force anyways, there's a course that you're required to take before you get out. It's a week long. It's called TAPS, the Transitionary Airman Program. And they go through everything from resume building, networking. They have people from the local chamber of commerce come and talk, and they do prepare you pretty well.
Oh, that's cool. Is that an actual Air Force initiative, or is that like a third party organization that helps out the Air Force?
No, it's an Air Force initiative. I think it's actually DoD wide. I'm pretty sure
Oh, wow.
every branch does it now.
Cool. I'm gonna have to check that
Yeah,
out. Awesome. North Dakota, huh?
South Dakota.
South
Yep,
Dakota.
down in
Yeah.
the warm South.
There you go. Yeah. You getting any snow up there yet?
It snowed a couple times. The biggest
Oh.
one we've had is about 4 or 5 inches, so nothing much. We've been lucky. It's actually 66 degrees on Tuesday or
Mm-hmm.
Wednesday of last week,
Yeah.
which is crazy.
Well, so I got family that live in North Dakota. Sounds like you haven't picked up that accent yet.
No, no, not yet.
Don't worry, give it some time.
Yeah,
You will.
we'll see.
So Dallas, how do you define success?
Um, I think it's a case by case thing. So whatever you want to be successful at, you're gonna have to make your own marks for that. And once you get there, you'll know. And some people will consider themselves successful if they get into a management position. Some people don't think they're successful until they're the CEO of a company. So for me personally, my ideal success would be owning my own business and being able to live off of that, not do it on the side and work on that from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. every night. Just
Hmm.
have that be my sole career.
So, do you think your desire to own your own business is stemmed from in any way to your military experience?
I think my military experience has prepared me a lot for just the stresses of it and the leadership aspects, I guess. But
Mm.
that drive has kind of always been there. I was the kid that had the little pencil selling business and Kool-Aid stand on the corner type thing.
Nice. So you talked about your side business. I don't know, you're probably in early stages, but I like talking about early stage business. So what is it? What are you doing?
Well, right now I've got an iPhone app. It's a game called Fall Frenzy, and
Fall Fall Frenzy?
yep, Fall,
Okay. Oh,
FALL.
fall.
Yeah,
Got it.
and it's just kind of a silly little game to play while you're in the waiting room at the doctor's office or something. But um, I'm not a coder. I'm not a graphic designer, anything like that at all. I have no idea. I couldn't write a line of code to save my life.
Hmm.
So I'm working on an ebook. It might turn into a course about how to create an app without needing any of that knowledge, and uh, and just kind of the steps on getting that done. So that's the current thing I'm working on. The app's already done, and it's been on the App Store for 8 months, I think.
Okay. And what's it going for now?
It's free. Um,
Oh, it's free.
yeah,
Okay.
and I monetize it by some ads that are in the game, just a little banner ad at the bottom,
Mm-hmm.
and I I put it out on Pat Flynn's Facebook page actually, who would be interested in finding out how to build an app without
Mm-hmm.
needing any of that coding experience. And I got quite a few positive replies on that a lot of people were interested in seeing that. So
That's pretty cool.
yeah, that kind of gave me proof of concept right there, and I decided to go for it.
Nice. So you can have your ebook kind of as a introductory type of thing, then you can move that forward and do some like training videos and sell that as a like a training package, huh?
Right. Yep. And it'll be something that I can expand on. It's not going to be, this product is done and I'm never going to touch it again. I can
Sure.
update it later on, add, go with the industry because it's inevitable. There's going to be, um, progress in the app creation business.
Right. So how far along are you on this ebook, or is it just a concept right now?
I've got a couple pages written, and I've got my outline done and everything. So I'm in the writing stage right now.
Nice. So you are you're now within the Change Your POV community and in my network forever. So
All right.
we're definitely going to keep tabs on each other, and I would love to have you come back on the show when your ebook is done, and we'll get you promoted and get it out there because there's a lot of people out there that are looking for not necessarily to start their own business full time as their sole form of income, but there are a lot of people out there that just would really like a different alternative to supplement their income, right?
Yeah, definitely.
How much did it cost you when it was all said and done to get that thing launched, the app itself?
Well, initially, to get the game operational and on the App Store, it was about $1,200. And then I did some rework on the artwork and some of the just how things worked, and I added some aspects to the game like collectibles that you can tap, kind of a trophy system and stuff like that. So
Wow.
I've done 3 or 4 revisions to it.
So it's pretty, I mean, it's an app, it's a game. A lot of people, I mean, they hop on their phones and they download these apps, and a lot of folks don't realize what really goes into an app. I mean, it's more than just coding. You got, the UI and UX, which is the user interface and user experience
Hmm.
aspect of it, and then you've got your, the artwork and your storyboard, and I mean, it's pretty complex. Did you get was it just one person or one company that handled all aspects of that app creation, or did you have to kind of piece that out in different places?
Luckily, it was one company. I was talking to the coder more than anybody else, and he kind of facilitated the graphic designers and everybody else that worked on it. So I just had that one point of contact, and so it went pretty smooth for me. I'm glad I didn't have to piece it out to 5 different people and to get
Right.
everything done. I'm sure the cost would be a different story then.
Now, was that all done remotely? Is this somebody you work with on a remote basis, or is it somebody local to your town?
It's remote. I used Elance and
Okay.
found a designer on there.
So I would imagine that your skill set for communication that you learned in the Air Force probably lended itself very well to being able to convey your message to somebody remotely, particularly in an area that you're unfamiliar with, like coding, huh?
Right. Yeah, I would say that's accurate. I had to get and he's Chinese actually. He lives in China, so we had
Oh,
that whole
wow.
language barrier working against me too. So um, it was tough at first to convey the message I wanted to get across to him and how I wanted things to look. And um, luckily, he was good about if he got something wrong or kind of went away from how I was wanting it to be, he would
Hmm.
revise that and not charge me extra for that. So that was really good.
That's cool. So I mean, sounds like you've had a lot of success there, and you and I both know that you can't have success without failure, right? So what's been your greatest failure along the way?
Um, I mean, I've had a lot of little businesses that I've kind of started and they fizzled out. Just learning the process and figuring out that yeah, you do need proof of concept, and you want to make sure that this is something that people want, and just getting more into it and up to your elbows and figuring out, wow, this is way deeper than I thought it was going to be to do this. Just like you were saying with the app, people download it and not realize the work that goes into it. I was starting these projects, not realizing the work that goes into it, and learning that along the line. So I haven't really had any huge failures, but I've had a lot of small ones, and
Hmm.
that taught me that you really need to do your due diligence and these things that you're wanting to get into before you just jump right in.
Right. And they say the devil's in the details, and oftentimes, especially with owning your own business, it's not the great big huge failures that are going to get you. It's going to be the aggregate sum of all the little ones, right?
Right. Yep. That's exactly what happened. But I didn't let it stop me. It wasn't something where I was like, well, I'm never gonna figure out any of these industries or business ideas. So um, I did take the lessons learned from them and realize, you gotta spend a couple of months researching this, reading about, like in my case, outsourcing and paying people to do work and how to talk to them. And I did research that of how to get the message across and be a project manager.
Hmm. So that's a nice segue into this next point, and that is, so when a person, let's say you or anyone that's in a cell phone business or an entrepreneurial type endeavor, when you're pursuing a goal or a dream or a project and it starts to fail or become more difficult than you thought, how do you know when it's time to pull the plug, or if you're just going through a rough patch and you need to push through it? How do you know the difference?
That's gonna be something that's dependent on the person. I mean, if you're the type that gives up easily, then you're probably gonna pull the plug a lot earlier than necessary. And I would say just persevere until you just can't anymore, until you can't put another dime into it, and or you can't put another 10 minutes of work into it, and you're just in that rut of not getting anything accomplished. So if
Hmm.
you're, I would say if you're working on something and you've been working on the same aspect of it for way too long, that might be a good sign to think about changing it up or just giving it up.
Yeah, and a lot of people that I talk with, they usually live in one of two camps. The first one being that, they're working on basically something that's dead on the vine, but they just won't give it up, and they just keep going and going and going and investing time and money and effort, and to no avail, right? And then you've got the other type of people that give up much too soon, and if they would have just pushed through a little bit longer, or provided themselves a chance to kind of, go for it a little bit longer, then they would have probably broke through and had something pretty successful. So it's tough to know which end of that spectrum you're on, because I've been there myself.
It really
And
is.
one of the things that I've found beneficial for me in identifying kind of where you are is to get third party input, somebody that doesn't have a stake in the game, so to speak. And I found that through mastermind groups. Have you ever done any type of mastermind group?
No, I haven't. I've wanted to, and I guess I didn't think about that. I've kind of done the same thing, just like with this ebook idea, validating that through the Pat Flynn's Facebook group and a couple other Facebook groups I'm involved in. I guess they're kind of mini masterminds, and
Mm-hmm. Yep.
so yeah, getting third party opinions, and if you know somebody that's a subject matter expert in that field, that's even better.
Yeah, absolutely. And for the listeners out there, take advantage if you are working on something and you want some good feedback. Um, I highly recommend finding a mastermind group or starting one yourself, and just give yourself the opportunity to kind of bounce things off the wall and see what sticks. And of course, you're not going to implement every suggestion you get from the mastermind, but what it does is it allows you to hear things from a totally different perspective, because when you're working on something that's your own, a lot of times you're so close to it because it's yours that you can't see the forest through the trees. And that's what mastermind groups have done for me, is to kind of allow me to see that forest through the trees, and they pick out things that I just was unaware of. And it's helped me tremendously in every aspect of my business, from the design of my website, the layout, the content, even spelling errors that I don't catch because I'm just a terrible speller. But um, take advantage of that. And I think you already mentioned it, like Pat Flynn's Facebook group. So if you're not ready for a mastermind group or anything like that, you can definitely hop on to some. There's tons of Facebook groups out there. Get on a group that is kind of in that niche, and reach out and make some connections, talk with people in that space. And, some people say, well, no, those people are my competition. You know what? It's been my experience that people within my niche have been more than helpful and graceful with helping me out and giving me a hand. And I'm sure that would be the same for you in whatever niche you might find yourself in.
Right. Yep. And I agree. You definitely do get tunnel vision when you're looking at your own project, and getting a pair of
Mhm.
fresh eyes on that is very beneficial.
So what have you learned from, what was your takeaway out of the military that you've been able to apply to your civilian life and your um, your projects on the side? What are some things that you've been able to kind of leverage?
Um, I think a combination of just kind of growing up and being in the military, and they instill in you the aspects of leadership and everything that comes with that. So I think the biggest takeaway I had was leadership and being able to delegate and manage a lot of moving parts at one time.
Mm. If you were to, hop into, as Pat Flynn would say, your DeLorean and go back in time, um, and you were able to have a conversation with your earlier self before you transitioned out of the military, what advice would you give yourself and why?
Start sooner, really.
Hmm.
I'm 30 right now, and I wish I would have started all of this when I was 20 or younger. Um, you can spend a lot of time thinking about something, and before you know it, it's 2 or 3 years later.
Right. Yep.
And that kind of went the same way with this app. I've had this app idea for years, and one day I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna do it, and
Hmm.
uh, and just jumped right in. And it's scary, but it doesn't take too long for you to get a feel for it and get comfortable with what's going on.
So you've got a young one at home, and you've got a job, and you've got this side gig. How do you juggle all of that? Your family, your work, your projects. What do you do?
I just gotta ask the wife for permission, really. um,
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I really do. I'll ask her, on a Saturday, do you mind if I take a couple hours to work on this, or do you need some help with Ace, who's my son? And
Hmm.
it's just communication, and if you do have a family that you're trying to balance and a job, and you've only got a few hours a week that you can dedicate to your projects, it's just communications,
Hmm.
just figuring out what time's going to work best. You obviously can't just disappear and go do what you want to do.
Right. What um what are some online tools that you've been able to use to help streamline your business, collect your thoughts, make you more efficient, those sorts of things?
I use, it's not really online, but I use Notepad a lot on the computer or on my iPhone, and I'll make lists and prioritize things with that, and that's kind of how I keep on track. As far as online tools, I used Elance to hire out a coder for that app. Uh, I used Elance, and I'm looking at book covers for the ebook, and that's probably been the biggest online tool that I've used so far.
So do you say you're gonna use Elance for the book cover as well?
I think so. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
there's a lot of talented people on there.
Yeah. So you're gonna go for kind of the with like a 3D cover look for the ebook?
I'm not sure. I might do something like get several people, kind of like 99 Designs does,
Mm,
where you get several options, and I'll probably give the artist a lot of creative control there, and just kind of tell them it's a book about making apps. Make something that looks good, and
hmm.
just go from there, because they're going to have a better artistic eye than I will.
Right. So a lot of people think that they can't get into business for themselves unless they have a college degree. What would you say to those people?
I don't have a college degree. Um, it's just you don't need a degree or a formal education not to. I'm going to college. I haven't taken a class in a while, but I'm about 11 classes away from finishing my bachelor's. Um, and I found that a lot of these classes, you're just getting the opinion of the instructor or the professor, uh, whose opinion is no more valid than your own.
Hmm.
So if it's something that you think you can do, you want to do, then do it. And with the amazing resource of the internet, you can learn anything you need to learn to get what you want to do done.
So do you see more apps, in your future, or are you just going to kind of go down the road of the training aspect of creating apps?
Right. I do want to make more apps. I want to get away from the games and maybe eventually get back into that. But the next one, I want it to be something that's practical and that is going to help people out.
Hmm.
I'm not sure what yet, but something along those lines.
Now, is it a whole different process if you wanted to create the same app for, like, say, Android or something?
Yeah, it is. The coder actually told me that it would be about $2,000 to write the app for Android, and I never really knew how that worked. I didn't know if it was kind of just copy and paste type of thing, but it's a whole different arena when you're writing code for other UIs.
Yeah. So I've heard that yeah, it's a different code structure for those two platforms. So sometimes you might hire a team or a person to do the coding for an iPhone app, but that person may not know, the coding to do the Android. So you may end up having to hire two different streams to do, two different platform apps. That's just strange, huh?
Right. Yep. And the guy that I'm using, he does know how to write code for both platforms, so that's good. But uh, we'll see
Hmm.
if I want to spread it across to everything.
Yeah. So what kind of analytics do you get from the App Store in terms of downloads and hits or whatever it is on the back end?
Right. It's actually really detailed. I like statistics and analytics and everything, so I was pleasantly surprised when I saw everything that they report on. They tell you, how many times the app was downloaded, obviously, how many times it's been deleted. If you're running ads on there, you can go to those particular ad backends and look at how many times people have viewed your ad, how many times people have clicked that, and say the ad is for Clash of Clans. If they click your ad and then download Clash of Clans, it'll tell you that as well. And
Mm.
there's different payment structures for everything, so it gets pretty detailed.
Does it give you much information in terms of demographic, like where somebody lives, what their age group is, or?
It breaks it down by country, and I think one of the ad platforms does it by region. So it'll say United States, Midwest, or Southeast.
Hmm. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
What do you do to promote the app?
I used a lot of Facebook ads. I had some T-shirts made, and I did a giveaway on my Facebook page for the app, and it was just kind of a like thing, people that
Hmm.
like the page from this time to this time, you'll be entered in to win this shirt. But mainly Facebook ads has been the most cost effective and most effective in getting results.
Mm. So did you set up a like page for the app, or was it just for you
No, it's
that
for
you
the
could
app.
promote? Oh, okay. Facebook ads. Talk to us briefly about how that works.
It's pretty easy. You just click on, create an ad or whatever it says on Facebook, and you can put a graphic in there and write a little blurb that'll show up on. I mean, just go look at an ad on the sidebar of your Facebook page, and
Hmm.
that's exactly what it lets you create. You can break it down by demographics if you want it only shown. Like mine, I had it shown to 13 to 29-year-olds. And in the first run of ads, I noticed it was a lot of kids that were
Mm.
probably early teens that were liking the page. So the
Hmm.
next ad run, I dropped it down from 13 to 19-year-olds. So the more granular you get that demographic target down to,
Hmm.
the more cost effective it's going to be for you. So you're not showing this ad to a couple thousand 29-year-olds that are just ignoring it. Um,
Right.
so you got to pay attention to the reports that the Facebook ads gives back to you on who's liking it, where they're from, their age range, all of that. But it's definitely not difficult to do.
Does that help also build traffic to your Facebook page?
It does. Yep. It
Okay.
the uh, the ad linked directly to my Facebook page, and then I had a separate ad that linked directly to the download page for the app.
Nice. So the download page, is that just a like a landing page you created?
No, it's actually a redirect. If you go to fallfrenzygame.com, it just takes you straight to the App Store. So
Oh, okay.
if you go to that on your phone, it'll load the web page and then open up the App Store.
Oh, that's cool. What kind of reach did you get with these Facebook ads?
Several thousand. That's something else that you can control. If you want to do $20, it's going to get you, 2,000, or it'll reach 2,000 people or so. And I'm just guessing on these numbers. That's probably not accurate at all.
Hmm.
But I got, uh, I think about 11,000 in reach, not in actual likes, but I did get a couple thousand likes on the page.
So what's your return on investment? So how much have you spent, and how much has that been able to drive to click through sales for you?
Right. I'm still not cash flow positive on this yet. I think I need to find a better marketing plan that doesn't cost as much for a bigger return. So I've
Hmm.
been experimenting with a lot of different things to get to that point. That's where the t-shirt giveaway idea came from,
Hmm.
and all that stuff, and then just wearing t-shirts in general around town. And I've got the name of the game on there, a graphic, and the website underneath. So, if you're standing in line at McDonald's, somebody might type that into their phone and find the game. So right now it hasn't paid for itself yet, but
Hmm.
it's still getting a steady amount of downloads daily, and I know it's still being seen by people. So I have hope that with the right marketing plan, it'll get back up there.
That's cool. No, do you have those t-shirts for sale?
They're not for sale.
Okay.
I'm just giving them away. I mean, I'll send you one if you'd like, or
Yeah, I
we
was
can.
I was gonna yeah, if you sold them, I was gonna throw a link on my site and help promote it, man.
Yeah, yeah, we'll figure something out and do a giveaway on your site or something. We'll
Cool.
get it to somebody for free though.
All right, that sounds like a plan.
Yeah,
I
everybody likes free.
can't let my daughter see it because she'll just snatch it away. Well, it's probably better. She'd probably take it, share it with all of her friends, and she'd get more traffic for you than I would be able to, I'm sure.
Heck yeah.
That's pretty cool. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, so a lot of those questions I just asked you are probably more selfish questions than anything because I haven't quite dabbled in Facebook advertisement yet. Although I've been kind of poking around looking at it, but I haven't pulled the trigger yet because I wanted to get a little bit more information. I don't mind spending a little money to give it a go, but I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of doing things back asswards if I can kind of get on the right foot right from the beginning.
right. That's where the idea of the ebook was born, because I was talking about this on Facebook, and so many people were asking the same questions that you're asking. It's just stuff that people didn't know that they could do. They thought,
Hmm.
you had to be Roxio or some big company to create an app, and that's not the case.
Right.
So it's bringing this awareness to a lot of people that, oh, well, that killer idea I had for this app, I can actually do it.
Hmm. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I haven't thought of doing anything like that. I mean, I use apps on my phone all the time, but I've never looked at an app and said, I wonder what I could create. You know what I mean?
Right.
But because I've always thought it has been outside my wheelhouse. But sounds to me like, if you're interested in doing it, there's a way of getting it done, and I think your ebook would definitely help with that for sure.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. So, what do you got for books that you read? What's your favorite book these days?
Um, right. I just bought some sales books, and with my job, there's a big sales aspect to it, and that's something that I've been wanting to learn anyways. So I got a handful of books on that, and I actually was at the bookstore today and bought The Art of War by
Hmm.
Sun Tzu. So I'm gonna read that, and that, you always hear that applies to the business world a lot, and so I'm gonna see what that has all about it.
Yeah, I never read the book. I got it on audio because I got an hour commute each way.
Oh, wow.
So I downloaded the audio version of it and listened to it on my ride. And it's it's not a book that you will breeze through. It's a book that will serve you better if you kind of read it and internalize it as you go and consume it more than read it.
Right.
Because there's some thought-provoking stuff in there that really kind of makes you think. And several times I've had to hit pause on the player and just kind of think about what it was that they had just said. So it's a very, very good book, and it's definitely a book that you're not going to read just once. You'll have it, and it'll be part of your collection, your library, and you'll go back to it and back to it because it's very, very good, very good. So definitely highly recommend that for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely a philosophical book and not just a page turner.
Yeah. Yep.
And I mean, to get specific, the titles of the books I did buy, right now I'm reading Spin Selling. Inc.com listed that as their number one sales book. So it's the
You said you said spend selling.
Spin, Spin,
Oh, spin. Okay.
by Neil Rackman or Rackham. And
Okay.
Selling for Dummies, of course. You got to have
Yep.
that. The 25 toughest sales objections. That one really caught my eye just because of the business that I'm in. We hear not an overt amount of objections, but we do get objections. So um, having some insight on how to combat those a little bit, I think will be really helpful.
So when you say objections, you talking like from the potential company that you're trying to place individuals in?
Right. So they're the customers,
Mm-hmm.
and the product that we're selling is a labor force.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm talking about my actual full-time job right now at the temp
Right.
agency. Um, so we get told no, or we don't need anybody right now, or just everything from wherever you could think of. So having some ammo to know what questions to ask after you get a hard no, or an uneasy, like, well, I don't know, I don't really need anybody. um, Knowing what to say to that, I think, is going to
Mm-hmm.
be really helpful, and it's going to help me in my business aspirations too, with my own companies.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. So does your company do they make their revenue from the initial placement, or is there a returning value that they get as those individuals continue to work in those companies?
Right. It's a returning model, so it doesn't cost anybody anything. We There's a certain percentage on top of the hourly pay that the worker
Oh,
makes,
gotcha.
and
Yep.
that's the cut that we take. So it doesn't
Got it.
cost them anything at all to get set up and have people sent out initially. It's just a ongoing. They work 5 hours, we get X amount of percent from that.
Mm-hmm. So is it that the company will end up paying more for contract labor, or is it that the contract laborer will end up making less?
Um,
Where's your cut come out of?
it comes off the top, so they'll be paying more, but the reason that they pay more and that it can be justified to pay more is we insure the worker. We do all the placement tests. If there's drug tests required, we'll take care of that. But the big thing is the insurance. So if somebody breaks their leg on a construction job, we pay that medical bill, that workman's comp, all of that. And that's a huge thing to companies, so they don't have
Mm,
to deal with any of that and worry about those costs.
right, right.
So I like to
That,
tell them we're an HR department for rent.
there you go. Nice. And I know that a lot of companies will actually have a certain percentage of contract laborers on staff at all times as a way to, for the lack of a better term, quickly liquidate those assets for increased cash flow.
Right.
And that's what makes sometimes it's tough because a lot of contract laborers they'll go through contracting houses and get a job somewhere with the hopes that they'll get pulled on at permanent hire, right?
Yes. And
Yeah.
yeah, we see that happen quite a bit. And that is a big upside to the customer and the business owner of why they want to hire contract laborers, so they don't have to go through that onboarding process. And if the person doesn't work out, they have to restart all over again. Or if it's if it's Walmart hiring just for the winter season, with Christmas and Black Friday and everything, then after that's all over, they can just cut them. Not to sound cold about it, but that's how it's viewed.
Right. And there's just a huge cost of new hire acquisition, right? From, going out and seeking them, finding them, right? Everything that you're doing, if a company were to do that internally, it would be a huge cost to them as well.
Exactly.
That's very cool.
Yeah, it's a great business model.
Yeah, it is. It's not as good as a business model as selling college books, though.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's a racket, right? Every year you just change the edition number and then you sell it for $400 a book.
Right. I'm still convinced the mob's involved there.
Yeah, me too. Absolutely. Yeah. You're going to college, so I knew you would definitely understand that for sure. Awesome. So what puts you on the spot here? What's your favorite quote?
Oh man, it's not exactly business related, but I would say a Mark Twain quote. Yeah, it's definitely a good one. Travel is fatal to prejudice, bigotry, and narrow-mindedness, and many of our people need it sorely on these accounts. Broad, wholesome, charitable views of men and things cannot be acquired by vegetating in one little corner of the earth all of one's lifetime. Pretty much saying don't just sit in your hometown of 400 people and hate everybody else that's outside of that. Get around the world, meet new people, learn new customs, new cultures, and respect everybody else just like the human beings that they are.
So what you're basically saying there is you should seek to try to change your point of view, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Very good. Nice tie into the show, man.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, cool. So we're wrapping up here, and as you know, this show is called Change Your POV Podcast. So I like to ask all my guests a closing question, and here it is. Give us an example or a scenario of a time when you believed or thought something one way, but an event or circumstance occurred that forced you to see it from a different perspective and ultimately change your original perception. What was it, and what did you learn from that experience?
I think that ties in perfectly to what we've been talking about with the mobile application industry. I used to think, and I know a lot of people do think, that it's just something for the big companies, and you can't do it on your own. You need to know how to write code, or you need to have thousands and thousands or millions of dollars to hire code writers, hire graphic designers, hire a marketing team. And after I researched all of that over the last couple of years, that's not the case. I know I've already said it a couple of times, but you can do it on your own. I literally did this by myself, aside from, hiring the code writers and stuff. But
right.
I didn't have a team of anybody that wasn't outsourced, or the marketing was done by me. It's possible to do on your own. You just look at something and it just looks like this big corporate giant, and you can really sneak in there and take advantage of it. And it's still a fairly new industry, and you can take advantage of that.
That's right. Absolutely. Very, very cool. Well, Dallas, it's been a pleasure talking with you today. I love your story. I love how you've been able to kind of debunk the idea or the thought process that, creating apps are impossible to do unless you know how to code. And that really can go for anything out there. I mean, you don't necessarily have to know how to do the work. You just have to know where to go to find somebody that does. And with the way that technology is these days and the way everything is done digitally and online, it's really, it's states without borders, it's countries without borders, and it's anything is possible if you just got to want it, and you just got to put your mind to it and get it done.
Absolutely. You can, with the technology that we have now, you can get done what only a CEO or a very put together company could do, in 1990.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thanks again. Thanks very much for coming on the show. You can find all the show notes for this episode at changeyourpov.com/. episode 16. Never miss an episode. Hit subscribe on your podcast player of choice. We have a lot more great content headed your way. If you want to reach out to me, please shoot me an email at eddie@changeyourpov.com. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time.
Thanks for listening to Change Your POV podcast with Eddie Lazary. Check out more content by going to changeyourpov.com. And remember, your ability and willingness to change your point of view will open doors of opportunity.